What's going on, guys? ChaseWins.com. It is Tuesday, February the 18th, 2020, 8:45 a.m., and I've got a contractor that'll be here in about 15 minutes, so I got to make this quick. This is video one of two. I've already recorded one. They'll both get posted at the same time. Instead of making a long video and having the normal three people that like to send me a novel size comment and or email about how it's unacceptable to post long videos with free information that makes them money because they don't have time, but yet they have the time to take time out of their day to send that shit. I don't want to disappoint anybody. So two different videos, one for my recap from yesterday, and then one from Patrick's Daytona 500 recap, which now that the race has been completed, we can recap. You may have already seen it on Twitter and the YouTube community, but just a little more in depth as to how much money was truly made. Crazy schedule today. Like I said, I got a contractor coming over. Something that was supposed to get done yesterday got pushed off to today. So I'm actually going to have to work from home all day today instead of being able to get some stuff done, do the live show, and then go into the office. The live show is going to have to get pushed back to Wednesday. So the normal top 25 college basketball updates, I've got my stat updates for all 353 teams. The new rankings are done and complete. They've been done and complete since about 11 o'clock yesterday morning. We'll do the normal Tuesday show on Wednesday, and then because we missed out on a day and didn't get to give the free information we do on the live shows, I'll make another show up either Friday or Saturday, just depending on how the week plays out. So there's that, and these videos probably won't come up till this afternoon, just with everything that I've got going on. It's going to be a crazy day. Loving the card tonight, so we'll see what happens with that. Other than that, promos, we got a NASCAR promo. Refer to the video for that. It is going to be the one and only day that you can buy the full NASCAR season for cheaper than its normal price, and that will not change throughout the season. The only time the season will change is when we remove the season from the site, which is when we get down to the final 10 races. So make sure you watch that. Well worth your time. It's beyond worth your money. I'll explain everything there. As far as what we've got going on for normal plays, $50 3 days, 7 days, $99. Cheapest in the business, $2.99 gets you a month. All premium, daily top plays, all sports, profit guaranteed. That, and then all of the people, all the client base that was involved in the mass email the other night from Sarah about the big deal slash merger slash everything that's going on, the big announcement with the $35,000 worth of discounts. If you were one of the ones that sent in a request for something the other day when that was sent out, and you do want to, in fact, sign up for whatever that was, we need to know by 6 p.m. tonight. Otherwise, because there's 7K left of this. So even if you haven't reached out yet, but you were planning on it, do it before 6. Otherwise, if we use the remainder of the 7K, great. That's what it was there for, what it was designed for. And that's what we hope we use it for. But if all or part of that has not been used by 6 p.m., we're not going to use it, and all of it's going to be used for the big Talladega trip that we're planning, the big tailgate that we're planning to have clients come out, anybody that wants to come, but we're going to be giving away tickets, pit passes, a bunch of stuff. So we'll announce that in the coming weeks once we get everything booked. As far as we know, the day that we're going to go in, how many days it's going to go for, so on and so forth. But that'll be like one of the first big things that we put on with everything that we've, with that deal that we had. That'll be like our first big like public event since that happened. So other than that, yeah, so 6 p.m. there. The NASCAR deal does end at 12 midnight Pacific time, and emails after that asking for it will not even be answered. So that's really it. Let's get into a recap and a free play, and we'll move on. So yesterday, 4 plays given out on video. Went 3-1. The only loss we took was St. John's +2. They played the better game. They deserved the home win. They made a couple of costly fouls there at the end and gave up a wide open three. We took the 2 points. They ended up losing by 3. Those are the most gut wrenching losses you can take. I'd rather lose by 30 instead of by 1 point. But we took that loss. The other 3 plays was Kansas minus 16, which was a winner. The Florida Panthers in the NHL minus 140, a winner, as well as over 6 goals in that very game. Easy winner. The exact things that I told you were going to happen in that game, in the order and how they were going to happen, all played out as I said. So congratulations if you paid attention and made money on all that. 3 in one day there, I will take it. Then we get into the 3 other plays that were just on the card and just for the paying clients. We had 2 other NCAA basketball plays. Alcorn State minus 9. They did the exact same thing St. John's did, almost mirrored the mistakes in the last minute of the game, and they won by 8 instead of 9. Another point. I hate those. But then we backed it up with Southern University. They were laying 14 when I released it. Because we released it at 2 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, it had jumped all the way to 17. I had clients asking, should they still play it? I said yes, and as a premium. And I'm really surprised that they didn't win the game by 50. Had they not taken their foot off the gas just to not be dicks, they'd have won the game by 50. But they absolutely blew them out of the water. Easy win there. And then one premium NHL play was the Tampa Bay Lightning, minus 115 on the road against the Colorado Avalanche. They shouldn't have let it go into overtime, but they did. But nevertheless, they took care of business and won 4-3. So, as promised, a very, very rare bad day in the NHL on Sunday. What'd I say? I said we'd come back and not only win, but probably sweep the board the next day. One free play or 2 free plays and 1 premium play. We swept the board on all of them, and we will have more NHL action tonight as well as college basketball. So make sure you get on board. Chase at chasewins.com. If you have any questions, I'll get back to you the second that I can. A lot of you guys are not going to like this free play. That's fine. Do with it what you will. This is just my take on the game. Oklahoma, Baylor. Obviously, once a week I give my personal rankings for college basketball. We do the top 25 every week, and then if people ask me about specific teams, I'll be happy to tell them where I have them ranked from 1 through 353. I'll tell you this right now. Baylor has not, at any point this season, been the best team in college basketball. And right now, despite the fact that they've got the number 1 label given to them by, the committee that ranks the teams, by the NCAA, by whoever they have sitting behind that desk physically doing it, they're not the best team in college basketball. They're not. I don't know that anybody would truly make the argument that they are unless they were a Baylor fan or unless they're completely oblivious to the fact that other teams exist. Here's the problem with Baylor. Is Baylor a good team? Yes. Hell, I think Baylor's a great team, considering. But here's the problem with Baylor. Baylor is average in so many different areas. And they've had the advantage of their schedule this year, falling out the way that it needed to, getting the games that were going to be difficult for them at home. Their crowd has been more into it because I think they've realized that this is all they're going to have going forward, because football, they had their little Cinderella moment, and now they know that they're more than likely up Schitt's Creek for the next 5 years after what they thought was the second coming of Christ, and Matt Rule decided to get the hell out of Waco, Texas for Charlotte, North Carolina, which I don't blame him. Who wouldn't? But anyway, here's my thoughts on Baylor. Baylor, in my opinion, has always been a basketball school, more so than a true football school. Even though football in Waco, Texas is most certainly more dominant than basketball could ever hope to be. Let's just face it. You're surrounded by schools like Texas, Oklahoma, um, Texas Tech. You're surrounded by so much football royalty historically, that you'll never be elite in the eyes of just college football itself. But in basketball, they've had some impressive years. Hell, Baylor has had teams at times. It's been a long time, but they truly have at times had the best team in the country. Um, the problem is now is the way that these teams get ranked falls so heavy on people's feelings. Like a team being undefeated and then feeling like they're being treated unfairly because they're not told they're the best. When it's not just about not getting beat, it's who do you play. There's 353 Division I college basketball teams, and almost every single power conference will play at least at one D2 school a year, which is a guaranteed 50-point win. You look at teams like Baylor, who this year played some tough teams but had the scheduling advantage of getting the teams that had a chance to beat them at home, which has been a very tough place to play for opponents. They've had that. So that's been good for them. But if you look at what's been going on the road, then they're average. Truth, maybe slightly above average if you really want to give them credit. But if you look at teams that they're beating, even on the road, because keep in mind, they're still 23-1. So it's not like they don't have talent and they're not deserving of recognition. But go and look at the teams on the road that they beat, some of which they should blow out by 30 points with their eyes closed. They're going out there and having slim margins of victory. They're going out there and playing like an average basketball team from a power conference. It's just how it is. Now at home, they look like an elite team. But elite teams win on the road and at home. And not just win. They have the ability to win just as profoundly. When you look at teams like Kansas, I'm not going to say Duke now because Duke's really the freshman situation is hurting them. Even though I still think talent-wise Duke's a top 3 team, no question. The freshman thing is hurting them, and it's hurt Coach K since he started going after one and dones. But if you look at teams like Maryland, and if you look at teams like even West Virginia, who I told everybody at the beginning of the year who said that they were going to finish last in the Big 12, that they would be a contender for the Big 12 title, and they would make the tournament, everybody thought I was crazy. West Virginia's playing some they're playing some very good basketball, and have all year. Besides a few hiccups, they have all year. But if you look at teams like Kansas, like Maryland, like another example I want to give that nobody's going to like, but there have been certain wins that just prove my points, Ohio State. Even though Ohio State was ranked number 1 in my system for 2 or 3 weeks, it's been a while, but at points this season. I still have them in my top 10, even though they've had bad losses. I'm not looking at their 17-8 record. I'm looking at the statistics of their wins, of their losses, who they've lost to, how they've lost, who they've beaten, how they've beat them. And when you take statistics into it, which is the only thing that should be taken into consideration when you're ranking teams that are all whose records all somewhat mimic each other. I've got Baylor ranked number 5. If you take their record out of it, take 23-1 out of it and just go off of statistics, they wouldn't even be in the top 10. You bring it back in there, truth be told, if you really want to go off of it and you want to take into consideration the fact that they're an average road team and a good home team, they should be about 8th. They shouldn't be number 1 in any world. And if the argument that someone's going to make is because they're 23-1, well, then you might as well just give San Diego State the number 1 ranking. And they're not even a top 10 team. I'm sorry. I mean, they've had some good wins, and I do think that they're a true top 15 team. I do think they will go to the tournament and at least get past the first round. But San Diego State cannot hang with teams like Duke, Kansas, Baylor. Dayton, I don't think they could hang with. I think Ohio State would obliterate them. I mean, they just can't hang. So, what do we have tonight? We have two football schools that only use basketball to pass the time in mid-January, February, and part of March if their team's there. Oklahoma is probably one of the most dominant home teams in the country. They are actually the most dominant or the most consistent home team in all of the Big 12. The most dominant is Kansas, but that is the best team in the country no matter what anyone says. They are. Statistically, they're 22-3, and Kansas is just by far the best team, and I don't think anybody's right there very close to them. On the road, Oklahoma's not that great. I mean, obviously, if you really look, I mean, truth be told, I've got them ranked 35th overall in my system. And they could go down a little bit if you really wanted to be pretty liberal about it. But they're 16-9. Go look at those 9 losses. You'll find 8 of which are on the road. Go look at the 16 wins that they've got. Look at their home wins. And look at how consistent they are. And look at who they beat. Oklahoma is a force to be reckoned with against any team on any given night if they're playing in Oklahoma. And another advantage that they have is they have this crowd where both sides haven't soon forgot what happened on the football field just a little while ago, where Oklahoma supposedly took Baylor's playoff hopes away from them. Give me a fucking break. Baylor wasn't going to the playoffs. But Oklahoma deserved it more. Baylor was smoke and mirrors on the football field. Jalen Hurts is a stud. Baylor wants revenge tonight because of what happened. Oklahoma wants to rub it in their face even more by blowing the ever-loving doors off of them. And what you have is just like I was live a few weeks ago, an hour prior to the Auburn-Alabama basketball game. And because of what went on the football field, I told certain things would happen, and people were sending me texts and emails 2 hours later going, holy shit, you called that. Why are they bringing football into a basketball game? So that's what happens when you get football schools, having to take their fans and try to get them interested in basketball for 2 months. All they do is bring football back into it. So this is going to be a heated game tonight. There's going to be tensions are going to be high. The crowd's going to be in it. And they're going to want to rattle this team. Where do you think that's going to swing? 90% Oklahoma, 95% Oklahoma. It's a sellout, by the way. So that's going to swing in their favor. Not to mention, if you look at Baylor, great home team. One of the top 3 home teams in the country. Average road team. Below average, if you really want to be, if you really want to tell the truth about it, especially against in-conference opponents, good or bad. So they're a below-average road team going up against one of the best home teams in the country with an enormous home court advantage and what may very well be the loudest atmosphere Baylor has seen that is not in their favor all year. And the only thing that's going to get louder is, you know what? It may not get louder. I was going to say that the Kansas game, the crowd may get louder than that. I don't know. Kansas doesn't have the rivalry like the state of Texas and Oklahoma do. So crowd, Oklahoma, by a mile. Home performance versus road performance for the road team. Oklahoma advantage again. Speed, Baylor. Ball handling, Baylor, except Teague is questionable. He's questionable for night game time decision, and even if he plays, he's no more than 75%. If he was, they would have already announced him on the roster to try to get the crowd into it, get them hyped, and let them believe that they're going to come out there and do what they should do, which is win. He's got a wrist injury. What do wrist injuries do? They affect your ball handling, and he is the most important player on that team because he's one of the best ball handlers in the country, and he doesn't make mistakes. You coming in with a wrist injury, you're going to make a mistake, especially when that crowd is deafening you, and Oklahoma is doing whatever they can to press you and force you to make a mistake. So there we go. We get it back to even. What this game I think is going to come down to, as long as Oklahoma doesn't make stupid mistakes early and allow Baylor to start running away with it, is we're going to have a game that's within 5 to 7 points of, teams that are in 5 to 7 points with one another for the majority of the game. You get down into the later portions of it, it's going to come down to overall power, strength, and fouls going to the line. What's going to happen is Baylor, even though they're fast, they're talented, great ball handlers, they're not a strong team. They're a weak team compared to the overall strength Oklahoma has. Oklahoma is just as good as anybody in the country, second to Kansas and North Carolina, at keeping the opposing team off of the offensive glass, not allowing second chance shots on offensive rebounds, and stifling teams defensively on rebounds while at home. Major advantage Oklahoma. What's that going to do? That's going to cause Baylor to start getting scrappy. What's going to happen? They're going to start fouling, which means Oklahoma's going to go to the line, which means that they're going to score points, and which means the crowd's going to get even louder. And I think that if we come down to the wire of a neck-and-neck game, the crowd alone, the momentum, and the nothing-to-lose attitude won't just make Baylor cover Oklahoma cover the three-point spread. I think Oklahoma would win by more than 3. One of two things is going to happen, guys. If you want to play the game, play it. You can take the 3 points if you want to. I don't see much value in that, because what should happen, Baylor should win by 15 points. That's what should happen. But there's a reason the line's only 3. The odds makers are only considering Baylor a 6-point better team on the road. That's why it's at 3, because you're given 3 for home court. That's about accurate. I mean, hell, look at what Oklahoma's already done this year. They've already proven that a team like Baylor can't blow them out of the water without Oklahoma driving the mistake train. What happens is if either Baylor does what it should do, which is blow them out by 15, or Oklahoma wins outright and it's by 5+. That's what I think happens. Take it if you will. I'm taking a long shot here with Oklahoma to win outright. I'm sure people will cuss me out if it doesn't win and say I'm stupid. I agree. Baylor is a better team overall. That was not in question. And they should win this game handily. But I'm telling you right now, they're sorely overrated. They're not number 1. They haven't been number 1. And they're going into a snake pit tonight. And going into a snake pit at an average team at best, against a top 5 home team within your conference that's a rivalry that now has bad blood for something that happened on AstroTurf 2 months ago? I'm sorry. Advantage Oklahoma all the way tonight. Oklahoma, money line. They're catching 3. Take it, get plus money, and let's go cash a ticket. Watch out for the NASCAR video. Jump on the package, and I will see you guys back on Wednesday. Thanks, guys.